All right, there's something happening in every garden that no one talks about enough. Your plants are neutral towards each other. They're not just sitting around minding their own business like, "Hey, what's up, tomato? How you doing, pepper?" They're interacting together in their roots, their soil, their insects they attract and repel, and shade they cast, the chemicals they release underground. Some of those interactions are honestly powerfully positive. Certain plants genuinely help their neighbors grow better. They resist pests more effectively and produce more food than they would probably alone. Other combinations are quite destructive. Two plants that look fine together on the surface can undermine each other's root growth. You cannot see the problem until the season's over and you wonder why one bed underperformed. This is called companion planting. It's one of the oldest, most practical, most underused strategies in home gardening. You know me, Philip Davis with Ancestry Lands, and today we're going to open with what's going to be a full series on companion planting. Now, I covered this before, and I'm going to cover it again because there's so many different companions out there. This video covers the principle, how it works, why it works, and the framework for thinking about which plants belong together. Then in videos that'll follow, we'll go crop by crop, tomatoes, squash, carrots, beans, and more specific combinations, specific spacing, specific results that you can expect. Let's start with the beginning. Companion planting. Now, what is it? It works through different mechanisms. Understanding those mechanisms is what makes the difference between following a list blindly and actually knowing what the hell you're planting. What you're planting next to what, right? The first mechanism is pest confusion and repulsion. Many garden pests find their target plants by smell. A carrot fly, for example, is attracted to the scent of, come on, you guessed it, carrot foliage. All right. If you surround your carrots with onions or chives with a strong smell of their own, the pests have a much harder time locating the carrots they're looking for. The strong smell of companion plants essentially scrambles the signal that pest flies around, gets confused, and says, maybe I'll go somewhere else, like maybe your neighbor's lawn, right? The same logic applies to aphids and whiteflies, which are attracted to certain plants and repelled by others. Planting basil near tomatoes is not just a cooking convenience, basil repels thrips and aphids that target tomato plants. So let me tell you, thrips also target cucumbers. Are tearing mine up this season. Marigolds planted around the border of a vegetable garden emit a scent from their roots that repels the nematodes in the soil and deters a range above ground insects. The garden becomes a landscape of mixed signals that the pests, well, they have a hard time navigating, and many of them say, yeah, fuck it, I'm not going to bother. The second mechanism is beneficial insects attraction. Now, not every insect in your garden is a pest. Remember that. Many are predators that eat pests and pollinators that increase your yield by visiting your flowers daily. Companion planting can be used deliberately to attract these beneficial insects by providing flowers shelter and food sources that they actually need. Dill, fennel, cilantro that has been allowed to flower and a member of the carrot family produce top flower clusters that are landing pads for parasitic wasps, which you want, hoverflies, and other beneficial insects. Keyword beneficial. Letting some of your herbs grow to flower rather than cutting them back consistently is not neglect, it's actually habit creation. Borage is a less common herb and is one of the most powerful companion plants for this reason. It attracts bumblebees at a high rate too, improves pollination of nearby plants, has been documented effect on deterring the tomato hornworm. Now that fucker's a villain. If you have not grown borage, it's worth adding to your companion planting toolkit. The third mechanism is resource sharing and soil improvement. Some plants take specific things from others from the soil. Others put specific things back, and we covered that on different plants too in different videos. When you pair heavy nitrogen feeders with a nitrogen fixer, you create a relationship where one plant naturally supplies what the other needs. This is the logic behind the Three Sisters, companion planting combination developed by indigenous farmers, also known as Native Americans in colloquial terms in North America over 1,000 years. Corn grows tall, takes nitrogen from the soil. Beans fix nitrogen by taking it from the air and returning it to the soil through their root nodules. Squash spreads across the ground, shading out weeds and retaining soil moisture with its large leaves. These three plants do something specific and each benefiting from what the others do. A complete growing system in one planting. The fourth mechanism is the physical structure and shade management. Taller plants can provide shelter and shade for shorter plants that need protection from the intense heat and direct afternoon sun. Trellis cucumbers and beans can shade a bed of lettuce that would otherwise bolt in midsummer heat. This extends lettuce harvest by several weeks. Short ground cover crops can suppress weeds around the base of taller crops. Vertical growers and horizontal spreaders, meaning ones that grow tall and ones that grow wide, share space more efficiently than either would use alone. These aren't complicated ideas, but combining them intentionally rather than planting whatever fits the available space is what separates a garden that struggles with a garden that runs well. Before we talk about what plant together, let's talk about what not to plant together because some combinations that seem logical are actually problems and will mess up your garden. Fennel is one of the most important ones to know. Fennel is allopathic, which means it releases compounds through its roots that inhibit growth of most other plants nearby. So, this is something that you want to be aware of. Almost everything suffers when planted close to fennel. Tomatoes, peppers, beans, and most herbs. Fennel is useful and worth growing, but it belongs in its own container or its isolated section of the garden away from everything else, all right? Like put it in a corner. Consider it a loner because it works better solo. Garlic and onions have complicated relationship with beans and peas. Alums, the plant family that includes onions, garlics, leeks, and chives, inhibit the growth of legumes when planted in close proximity. Legumes meaning beans. So if you're relying on beans and peas for nitrogen fixation, keep your onions and garlics on the other side of the garlic. Just like broccoli, cabbage, kale, and other relatives do not play well with tomatoes. Both families have heavy feeders that compete for the same nutrients. So brassicas release chemicals that can stunt tomato growth. Keep them separated. No bad pairings as well as good ones because there's a value in that. A good companion planting strategy actually that accidentally puts two incompatible crops together can explain an underperforming bed that otherwise seems to have everything going right. So, let's give you some the most proven, most practical companion planting combinations. Now, tomato and basils, we talked about that earlier, is a well-known one. Well, you're going to end up using them both in the same dish, right? It earns its reputation. Basil repels aphids, spider mites, and thrips that target tomatoes and may also improve the tomato flavor, although that evidence is not really scientific, it's kind of anecdotal, meaning that people just, believe it when they hear it. Plant basil at the base of your tomato plants 12 to 18 inches away from the stem. Tomatoes and marigolds are a pairing that most experienced gardeners swear by above all other. French marigolds, the smaller, bushier variety, produce a root chemical that repels root nematodes. Those things are pests. It also deters white flies and aphids above ground. Plant a border of marigolds around your tomato beds and intersperse them between plants. Now, you probably could plant marigolds, basil, and tomatoes together. You could try that out. Carrots and onions and chive protect each other by confusing pests with a strong scent. We talked about that. A strong scent of the alums confuses carrot flies, and carrots deter onion flies. Plant them in alternating rows and interplant it throughout the same bed. Beans and corn work well together because corn provides a natural trellis for pole beans to climb. Beans fix the nitrogen that corn heavily depletes. Remember that. And the third is Three Sisters. That works as a standalone pairing without even squash, right? Lettuce planted in a partial shade trellis of tomatoes and cucumbers or beans extends the lettuce season in the warmer months. Taller crop filters the afternoon sun, keeps the soil temperatures lower, round at the ground where lettuce roots, delaying bolting. All right. Now, I'm going to mess this name up. Nasturtiums are one of the most useful plants because aphids are strongly attracted to them. Planting nasturtiums at the edge of the garden bed draws aphids away from your food crops so that way you can manage them in one place. The companion planting being used offensively rather than defensively. That's a new idea. Now, here's a framework you want to take away from this video because a list of combinations is only useful if you understand the principles well enough to make your own decisions, right? When you are planning what to plant next year, ask yourself 4 questions. Before you do that, watch this video over again. Save it, like it, share it. Does the combination confuse or repel pests that target each other? Does it attract beneficial insects that will patrol the area? Does one plant improve the soil in a way the other plant benefits from? And does the physical structure of one plant help the other shade, support, or ground cover? If you can answer yes to two or more of these questions in a given combination, it's probably a good pairing. If you can't answer yes to any of them, well, you should just keep as filling space, which is fine. But it's not companion planting. The more seasons you garden, the more intuitive this becomes. So start small, grow big, like we always say, and see your garden not as a collection of individual plants, but as a system where everywhere or everything is in relationship with everything else. The shift in perspective from thinking about plants individually to thinking about them ecologically is one of the most significant changes that a gardener who struggles every season to one figures out why things works and builds on it. That's what we're going to do in building this series. We're educating you. Again, remember, education is a mindset that helps you grow and tells you what to grow next, but a genuine understanding of why. And you can apply it anywhere you're growing in, whatever space you have, and whatever season you're working with. So, next in the planting series, we're going to go deep on tomatoes. I know I've exhausted tomatoes, but it's something that we bring differently every time we talk about it. And we're going to talk about every plant that can hurt them, lay out tomato bed, and what companion planting you should use, combinations, and the list goes on. All right. Now, if this video helped you out in any way, give me the HMO special. Help me out. Don't miss a video. Like, share, subscribe, and comment and tell me what you tried planting before. Did you find anything else that you planted with tomatoes or anything else that might have worked? Have you figured out any other combinations? Tell us what works. Share, help build a community. Get that education, and I'll comment back. I'm Philip Davis. Thanks so much for watching this video and giving me your time of day. Now, your plants are in a relationship with other. Let's make that relationship work for you. I'll see you in the next one. Peace.
Most people don't need motivation, they need better information. Owning land, growing food, and becoming more self reliant often sound complicated, mostly because they're rarely explained clearly. Ancestry Lands focuses on the practical side of independence by talking about what land ownership actually costs, what works in real backyards and small parcels. Because independence means getting freedom and security, and land just happens to do both. If you prefer planning over panic, subscribe to Ancestry Lands for information you can actually use.